How wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. Anne Frank. Oh, and I forgot to ask someone to come up and light the chalice. Who would like to? Great, Andy. Andy never gets to. He's always back there. We light this flame to remind us love is the center. As we grow and connect, mature and deepen, love remains the center. When the light of truth burns all else away, love remains. We light this chalice with all our souls longing to be who we are, to be who we will become, and to be ourselves. Our opening hymn, before we sing the first hymn, let me remind our remote participants to leave yourselves muted. However, we want you and whoever is with you to sing as loud and big as you like. Make it a joyous experience. So please stand in body or spirit and sing the opening hymn just as long as I have breath. Welcome. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist community of Cambria. We're glad you've joined us today. Our UUCC sanctuary sits on land that the Salinan and Chumash indigenous peoples historically inhabited. We honor their contribution to this region and give thanks for the opportunity to gather in faith on their unceded territory. Let us respect their legacy and protect their history as we occupy this sacred space. As Unitarian Universalists, we celebrate religious diversity and welcome all who journey in search of faith and spirituality. The UUCC is a lay-led congregation run by the democratic process. We invite speakers from different religious traditions and spiritual or scientific backgrounds, as well as community leaders to speak at our pulpit. We encourage presentations covering a variety of topics and areas of interest that connect with the 7 principles and our 6 UU values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. Have you all memorized JETPIG? Yes? Okay, good. Today's service centers around the 4th principle. We affirm and promote a free and responsible search for truth and meaning and Also, the Unitarian Universalist value of transformation. We adapt to the changing world. My name is Dolores Miera, and I'm your worship associate for this morning's service.
Hi, Dolores.
I would like to extend a special welcome to today's guests and visitors. We're glad you've joined us this morning. If you wish, please raise your hand if you would like to introduce yourself or your guest. Oh, great. If you're not on the mailing list, please visit UUCC website at uuccambria.org so that we can keep you informed about all of our activities. Members and friends, please check out what's happening. The e-blast sent to you every week. It's a great way to keep up to date with our latest news. Also, someone told me that I should be telling you the little boards in the back there. Read them every once in a while. Okay. If you wish to see this or any of the past Zoom services, the recordings can be found on the UUCC website and on Facebook. So again, good morning and welcome to everyone. The affirmation is both a recognition of the nature of this community as well as a promise to which we aspire. Let us now recite the UUCC affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and freedom, and to help one another. We set aside this time for any brief announcements that will be of interest to our community members and friends. Please be succinct when announcing upcoming events or updates. If you have an announcement, please raise your hand, and when Randy or I call on you, come up to the podium or unmute yourself and then speak. Jan.
Hey, Tuesday evening is a holiday. It's December 24th, and you can celebrate it any way you want as long as you're here. At 7 o'clock, we have a really special service planned, and so many of you are involved, so bring your friends too, so that not everyone is a presenter, but there will be some people to whom we want to present. 7 o'clock, be here, bring food, we're gonna have a good time.
Guess I'll go up here. Okay, two quick announcements. This is Fourth Sunday. It's our last Fourth Sunday of the year. We're collecting for Cambria Connection. And secondly, I want to thank everyone who submitted their pledge forms for 2025. We are within a little around $300 of meeting our goals. So I still have a few out. I think we're going to make it. So thank you all.
Good morning. Tomorrow, yes, I know it's a holiday week, but tomorrow, 4:30 is our monthly worship committee meeting on Zoom. So those of you part of the committee, please be there. And if you're interested in joining us, we'd love to have you. Just send me a note and I'll send you the link. Okay, so that's tomorrow at 4:30. And also, a week ago from Friday, we had game night here. No, it wasn't game night, it was potluck. And I was doing the final sweep before I left the building, and I found $35 right there on the ramp. Anybody missing $35?
But he doesn't believe me.
What's that? Gordon?
Is it green and rectangular?
Yes, it is.
They belong to me.
Okay. That's it.
Good morning. So this Wednesday coming would normally be our book discussion group, but it's Christmas Day, and I think a lot of us are going to have other kinds of plans. So I was thinking, okay, well then let's do it the following Wednesday. That's New Year's Day, and you'll either be sleeping or watching football. So I think we're just going to take the month off and, or at least we can talk about it in January and find a better time. So that's sort of an unannouncement.
Nobody else? Randy?
No hands here. Back to you, Dolores.
Okay. Next week, our service is What It's Like to Be Me, in which 5 of our members will share what it's like to be them. Should be fun and interesting. So this week on December 25th, Christians will celebrate and recognize the day of Christmas to remember the birth of Jesus Christ, who Christians believe is the Son of God. Unitarian Universalists have a variety of views about Christmas, including a celebration, a rejection, a commitment, which is the Unitarian Universalist congregations use Christmas to express their commitment to their 6th principle, which is to promote world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. A holiday service, which we're going to have on holidays, and we use the Christmas stories and traditions to call people to their commitment to the good. So don't forget, on Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and a Christmas prayer. So remember that Unitarians were influential in shaping Christmas as a family-friendly holiday in America. In the 1800s, Unitarian thinkers wrote about Christmas to promote their values and theology. Joys and concerns. Joys and concerns is a time for sharing personal celebrations, sorrows, reflections, and gratitude. This is a time for community building. So please. The collective flames of these candles embody all the joys and concerns which may have gone unspoken today, but are also deeply felt in this community. First reading by Carl Rogers said this about self-acceptance. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can. This quote appears in his book on becoming a person, a therapist's view of psychotherapy. Rogers believed it's more effective to listen to and accept oneself, and that this allows people to be themselves. He also believed that people should accept themselves as imperfect and let themselves be who they are. Here are some other quotes by Carl Rogers. The good life is a process, not a state of being. It's a direction, not a destination. The only person who is educated is the one who has learned how to learn and change. What I am is good enough, if I would only be it openly. Let us enter a place of peace and serenity where you are one with your spiritual being. Be at peace within your space where the absence of all that is temporal is its most cherished gift. Let us enter the stillness. May today there be peace within. May you trust your highest power that you are exactly where you are meant to be. May you not forget the infinite possibilities that are born of faith. May you use those gifts that you have received and pass on the love that has been given to you. Let this presence settle in your bones and allow your soul the freedom to sing and dance. It is there for each and every one of you. Amen. The term emotional intelligence was created by Peter Salovey and John Mayer in 1990 and popularized by Dan Goleman in his 1995 book, Emotional Intelligence. These are some of the Dan Goleman quotes. Your emotions are the slaves to your thoughts, and you are the slave to your emotions. What worries you masters you. Feelings are something you have, not something you are. There is zero correlation between IQ and emotional empathy. They're controlled by different parts of the brain. The basic premise that children must learn about emotions is that all feelings are okay to have. However, only some reactions are okay. Please stand in body or spirit and sing from all the fret and fever of the day. Number 90.
From all the fret and fever of the day, let there be moments when we turn away, and deaf to all confusing outer din, intently listen for the voices within. In quietness and solitude we find the soundless wisdom of a deeper mind. With clear harmonious purpose let us then bring richer meaning to the world again.
Today's talk is titled Emotional Freedom Technique. Mere placebo effect, or is it for real? There we go. To be delivered by Maria Rowe. After practicing as a licensed MFT for over 25 years, Maria is now retired. During her years of practice, she worked using an eclectic approach, which included the emotional freedom technique, or tapping, for clients who were open to it as an adjunct to other psychotherapeutic methods. In 1998, at the age of 49, Maria earned her Master of Counseling Psychology from the University of Santa Monica, USM, which offered a unique spiritual psychology program. Fundamental to the program was regarding the self with compassion and love, and in addition, relying on self-forgiveness as an antidote to self-judgment. It was there she first became aware of the connections between emotions, thoughts, and energy. With that background, she naturally gravitated to EFT as a result. After getting her MFT license, Maria used it with herself and with her clients. She used the technique for dealing with a range of emotional and psychological issues. To this day, she continues to use it regularly as a personal practice. Maria. Here you go. That's yours.
Welcome. I want to take a deep breath and tap. When I was, well, let me remember the slides. When I was a young girl, my Grandma Grace, maternal grandmother, used the pressure of her fingers on my face whenever I had a headache. And within minutes, my headache, can't hear? Oh. Okay. When I was a young girl, Grandma Grace, my maternal grandmother, used the pressure of her fingers on my face whenever I had a headache. And within minutes, my headache vanished. It was magic. Looking back, I think those healing experiences with my grandma's touch were my initiation to alternative healing. Thank you. Then, since my mid-30s, I explored many energy healing methods, mostly Eastern, some of which are considered rather woo-woo. I tried NAET, Numbadrapad Allergy Elimination Technique, for allergies to my cat and strawberries. I had suffered with itching, teary eyes, and nasal decongestion from my cat allergy for years, and I was miserable from a rash I would develop inside my mouth from eating strawberries, and I love strawberries. My doctor tapped on meridians linked to the allergy. After one treatment each, and then staying away from the allergy for only 25 hours, I was cured, and it never reoccurred. Those healings added to my accepting energy healing. On another occasion, I had an extraordinary healing with Reiki for intense knee pain. I couldn't walk more than a block. After one brief treatment, I was able to walk pain-free. The healer said I'd done all the emotional work related to my pain, and all she had to do was release it. That expanded my awareness of how pain and emotions were linked and how they could be treated with energy work. So from these woo-woo or magical experiences that involved acupressure, tapping, energy healing, and emotion pain connections, I was primed for EFT tapping. Quite by accident, around 2005, I discovered EFT. At the time, it was considered woo-woo, and that didn't matter to me. I'd already been initiated to energy healing and was receptive. The EFT I learned was developed by Gary Craig, and it was derived from thought field therapy by Dr. Roger Callahan. Both TFT and EFT use tapping on the meridians in conjunction with aspects of neurolinguistic programming. Callahan's version was very complicated and required a trained therapist. Craig's, on the other hand, was much easier to learn and could be self-administered. I took Craig's self-study course from a set of 12 VCR tapes. I don't believe I put that many tapes in the VCR. I'm amazed how long ago that was. Shortly afterward, he provided online lessons, which helped me a great deal. To this day, Craig's version of EFT is regarded as foundational to more simplified versions that are now available on the internet. His version involved using the fingers to tap on points on the head, face, torso, and several other points on the hands, while breathing deeply and reciting a litany of phrases. His technique used one hand. A while later, I learned that using both hands was valid, and I tap two-handed now. Not to read that, just showing you. The EFT tapping points correspond to meridians used in Chinese medicine. The theory behind EFT, according to Craig, is that negative emotions are stored in the body and organs and cause disturbances in the body's energy field, and that tapping on the meridians while connecting with a negative thought or emotion alters the body's energy field, thus restoring it to balance. Largely because Craig had success with veterans suffering from PTSD and clients having other emotional and physical complaints, it got my attention. I wanted to work on my generalized anxiety, which actually I was diagnosed with. I had some classic PTSD symptoms like startle responses and dissociation, and others like shaky knees, I still have that, when speaking in public, and sweaty hands. It doesn't go away, but I recover from them. I'd grown up in a family where feelings were taboo and speaking up was punished. Mistakes were unacceptable, and my critical inner voice grew very strong, and fear of failure was inhibiting. For years before finding EFT, I tried meditation for my anxiety, but meditating was hard for me, mostly because I had difficulty staying present. I sense I gravitated to EFT because my dominant way of processing input is kinesthetic. In fact, EFT is described as a somatic meditation. Tapping on the meridians over my body gives me grounding touchstones and helps me keep my mind from wandering. And because I tap with both hands, when I get to the underarm points, you can see UA, it's like giving myself a reassuring hug. Through my initial EFT study, I noticed that when I tapped while I expressed my upset, I was able to get in touch with my emotions much more deeply than through traditional talk therapy. I would often tear up, and because I was not relying on being with a therapist, I could work my process whenever I needed, privately and anywhere. I offer a caveat here, however. I'd had years of individual therapy on deep issues before my training as a psychotherapist. During my spiritual psychology training, I gained skill working my upsets alone. But people who have experienced serious trauma and haven't done sufficient work with a therapist might need to exercise caution doing it by themselves. So with clients, I was cautious and would only work on the deep issues first before introducing EFT. I did have a client who, after I introduced her, decided to tap solo. And she came back one day and said, "It was quite handy." When I was triggered by my volatile boss, she had gone into a bathroom stall and calmed herself down on the spot. Without our foundational therapy, I'm not sure how she might have fared, but I know she uses it today, even though our therapy has ended. Craig's tapping sequence required that you first sense into a challenging feeling and name it and assign it an intensity from 1 to 10. This slide is an example of working on my mother's rage when I was a child. I tapped on the karate chop point with one hand and 2 fingers from the other and recited the setup phrase 3 times. Even though I felt so unsafe, so shut down when she would rage at me, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Stress on the completely love and accept myself. Then I tapped on the other points as reminder phrases. Didn't feel safe, shut down, so afraid, ears hurt, wanted to hide, so mean, all that yelling, so hateful, lashed out at me, unsafe. How could she? So scared, shut down, and unsafe. At the time, I remember it taking many rounds before the intensity would go down to a 1 or a 2. And that's common with old wounds, but it can still take a long time, depending on how calm you are and how you can calm yourself down with your breath and just tapping longer on the points. So during that time then, it's quite common to have other unacceptable feelings pop up, like shame, hate, or contempt. So you tap on them. Give yourself enough rounds on all the challenging feelings. Gently own them and connect with your higher self to offer compassion, acceptance, and love through it all. Quite honestly, intense anger can trigger me to this day, being exposed to it, like some people we know. So now I tap, knowing to connect with my mother's rage as a source and calm myself down. Remembering painful feelings can backfire, even when done with a trained therapist. With EFT, however, expressing the setup phrase and tapping on all of the points round after round can induce a calming effect despite recalling a traumatic event. Master trauma specialist Bessel van der Kolk describes his use of EFT tapping, particularly where dissociation and painful recovered memories might derail healing. I quote van der Kolk, "I don't think I could do the practice anymore if I couldn't tap. Tapping is a very important part of my work because it helps people stay within the window of tolerance. The big thing is people either go to the roof and become hyper, or they shut down and become hypo. Tapping is one very nice way to get people even keel. So with everybody who comes to see me who has a serious trauma history, we start by tapping." Through my spiritual psychology training, I became profoundly aware as a child I'd learned to dissociate and shut down in reaction to my mother's abusive behavior. Shutting down and not speaking up for myself carried a lot of shame, and that shame in turn spawned harsh judgments towards myself and my mother, but mostly unconsciously. I now believe those judgments cascaded into separation from myself and from her. I had to move 3,000 miles away. And separation from my higher self. All that separation created even more pain, grief, loss, and regrets. And the cycle of hurt and separation repeated. Through my training, I became acutely aware of my disconnections from myself and my mother and spirit. Moreover, I learned about self-compassion, self-acceptance, self-forgiveness, and how to apply loving towards healing the hurt inside to mend those severed connections. Thus, EFT dovetailed with my spiritual psychology training. Thankfully, by using EFT, I was able to process painful memories in a very different way from years of talk therapy, which had only served to create more distance between me and my mother by retelling those stories. Eventually, EFT helped me to hold compassion for myself and her while still acknowledging the pain. Gratefully, there was healing between us before she died in 2007. Often a client would resist saying, "I deeply and completely love and accept myself." I sense that years of self-judgment might have closed their heart to themselves. Feeling compassion for and acceptance of themselves was hard to allow. Yet it was vital for their healing. So, through tips I gathered from conferences, rewording that phrase was key. Saying, I'm willing to learn to love and accept myself, and then adding the word anyway seemed to get over that hurdle. Again, anything that offers psychological safety is vital for healing, vital for feeling calm and staying connected to oneself and another. Steve Porges' polyvagal theory illustrates how our nervous systems, each of us, are affected by our experiences. Our fight, flight, and crash reactions and our states of calm and equilibrium are illustrated here. Don't pay attention to the details. It's just that we can spike. When our sense of safety is assaulted by another person's behavior or an overwhelming crisis, we can go into fight, flight, or crash very, very quickly. Our nervous systems go into overdrive, and our ability to act in ways that preserve our connections with ourselves. I mean, dissociation is that disconnection, or with others is derailed. So our reptilian reactions show up, and we might lash out, reject, or dissociate, all of which create separation from ourselves and another. And that state of disconnection needs calm and repair to get back into balance. I used to exhibit elements of crash and flight to angry tirades. Now I'm more aware of my distress by listening to my body shutting down or wanting to run away. I'm alerted that my nervous system is not in a state of calm, so EFT supports me to get my nervous system back into balance. I don't specifically recall working on my shaky knees when giving a presentation or compulsive nail biting, which I'd started as a child and continued well into my 50s. However, I believe the accumulated times I've processed my anxiety and self-judgment might have affected my standing here more solidly today, and very regularly, I need to clip my nails. Since 2007, siblings Nick, Jessica, and Alex Ortner have contributed to EFT's reach worldwide and to its use as a self-help tool by millions of people. Nick and Jessica sponsored EFT conferences, developed the tapping solution manual and online app, and numerous YouTubes, which you can get. I mean, there's hundreds of them. They simplified the tapping sequence by eliminating quite a few points. So none on the hands, none underneath by the rib cage. So it's easier to illustrate that one for sure. And Alex published a children's book with the intent of helping children deal with their emotions and traumas to help them move forward. After my initial study with Gary Craig's materials, I got tips from many EFT masters at the conferences they sponsored. Although most masters mentioned only anecdotal cases, still, I evolved my EFT practice to include their tips for adding many types of affirmations. After the initial tapping rounds, I now incorporate more rounds of expressing choices, identifying behaviors to act on, setting intentions for the highest good, forgiving myself, forgiving others, voicing gratitude, reinforcing trust, and more. And in the last month or so since the election, I've been using the last three a lot. I sense this practice has helped me to install new stories, new programs, as it were, into my mind, body, spirit, and that, in psychotherapy terms, is a litany like using narrative therapy with NLP somatic anchors. A little technical there. I create and reinforce a new story with repetitive, caring touch. I offer love and acceptance to diffuse self-judgments, but for simply being a human being who has challenging emotions and thoughts. And particularly when adding self-forgiveness, I support healing my relationship with my imperfect self by aligning with my higher self. As I mentioned earlier, when I began, EFT was considered woo-woo. And in the 2000s, early 2000s, if you went to Wikipedia to find out about it, what you'd find would not be encouraging. Indeed, that wiki entry reads, EFT has no benefit as a therapy beyond placebo effect. It is generally characterized as pseudoscience, and it has not garnered significant support in clinical psychology. Without knowing that that entry was written by known skeptics, you might be discouraged from ever trying it. Furthermore, even today, that wiki page does not refer to the 50 randomized controlled studies and hundreds of studies, other studies performed around the world, nor does it mention any of the resulting articles published in 12 peer-reviewed journals that demonstrate the benefits and effectiveness of EFT. In 2000, despite having attended several EFT conferences, the last one I attended was in 2012. And so I didn't keep up with the research, but so much has happened since. In 2014, Dawson Church created an alternate wiki entry as a rebuttal to the original one. And Church, Dr. David Feinstein and Dr. Peter Stapleton have collaborated on studies and published books and articles, causing a positive shift in how the psychological and medical communities regard EFT. Church published the EFT manual, a compilation of instructions for applying basic EFT and its advanced variations. In fact, it's the prescribed manual for the clinical EFT training developed by Dr. Stapleton. Now, EFT has earned credence as a legitimate therapeutic technique for numerous physiological and psychological conditions. And the conversation of its being woo-woo, a placebo effect without scientific validity, has changed significantly. Don't bother reading that, it's too small, but it just gives you an idea with the way the metrics went. Dr. Stapleton has conducted many tests on how one EFT session can improve a range of physiological metrics across the central nervous system: heart rate variability, blood pressure, the endocrine system, cortisol production, immune system markers in the saliva, and many others. Newer studies are looking at the effects on gene expression, brain synchrony, and hormonal synthesis. Stapleton's studies have shown significant reductions in anxiety and stress symptoms, with comparable or superior outcomes to traditional therapies like CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. In fact, MRI neuroimaging studies have shown similar changes in brain activation patterns from both EFT and psychotherapy. Clinical trials worldwide continue to demonstrate EFT's potential to alleviate a range of psychological and physical symptoms. Besides PTSD, the list includes OCD, reductions in chronic pain perception, food cravings and addictions, improved sleep quality, and eyesight, to name a few. But although so many positive findings exist, much more robust research is needed to fully understand EFT's efficacy across diverse populations and for a range of clinical conditions. Clinical EFT, as developed by Dr. Stapleton, is now considered a stable and mature treatment method that's safe, rapid, reliable, and effective for many psychological and medical diagnoses. A growing number of practitioners regard it as a valuable complementary approach to existing therapies. It's been validated as evidence-based by the American Psychological Association, and as EFT has gained more mainstream recognition, Kaiser Permanente has increasingly integrated it into their complementary and integrative practices. Both organizations state that although it can be self-administered, it's best performed with a professional, specifically trained in clinical EFT by Dr. Stapleton. From my initial exposure to EFT back in the early 2000s, I'd been curious about how it managed to help with anxiety. I wondered how the meridians were related to the nervous system. However, there was no evidence of any direct connection. And when I did research on the meridians, I only found the organs that each meridian connects to, so not very satisfying. Back then, polyvagal theory hadn't been popularized, and there wasn't any data on how EFT tapping could calm the nervous system. Nonetheless, I continued to tap without pursuing my hunch about the connections. When I discovered polyvagal theory, I learned about the vagus nerve and its effect on the two branches of the nervous system. It's intimately related to the stress reactions of fight, flight, and freeze from the sympathetic nervous system and to the states of safety and calm from the parasympathetic nervous system. Indeed, EFT tapping also addresses those two branches. The setup phrase acknowledges the sympathetic nervous system's emotional reactivity and simultaneously offers love and acceptance to induce a sense of safety and calm through the parasympathetic nervous system. Furthermore, tapping has an effect on the amygdala. Calming the amygdala is key to resilience and balance. When activated, a person's higher cognitive resources can be crippled. And when the amygdala is calm, you can access the full resources of your brain to deal better with unsettling or challenging situations. Research actually now shows that tapping sends a message to the amygdala in the brain that it's okay to relax. Thus, polyvagal theory and EFT are quite complementary in aiming to regulate the nervous system and manage emotional distress. Moreover, managing stress can positively affect the whole body. With EFT, deep breathing and tapping on the karate chop affect the amygdala and the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve and other tapping points are connected to the major organs. So when the body's relaxation response is supported, that in turn can support more optimal functioning of the major organs and therefore the digestive, reproductive, circulatory, and endocrine systems. Quite often, I use the entire set of points when I tap, even without words. I think of it as giving my nervous system and organs a gentle, loving tune-up to feel safe, despite what's going on with after the election. Will go on. It's a regular thing. I use it all the time. It's reassuring to me that experts like Steve Porges and Bessel van der Kolk have given thumbs up to EFT as a valuable tool for working with disruptions to the nervous system and to restore a sense of safety and well-being. I want to thank Sue Davis for prompting me to give this talk on EFT. Actually, the title came about from what I researched preparing for this talk. Before 2 months ago, EFT was still rather woo-woo in my own mind. I had only my limited experience and merely an intuitive sense that it worked. Obviously, questions remain, yet I'm encouraged by the continuing efforts to study the effects of EFT for a whole range of physical, psychological, and even spiritual conditions. And I'm delighted to have discovered so much to support the actual how and why it works. And I'm honored to be here sharing this loving kindness somatic meditation for body, mind, and spirit with you. Thank you. Yeah, I can close the words. Yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you, Maria. Morning offering will now be given and received. Please remember we are a self-sustaining congregation and provide all financial resources for our many ministries. We recognize the spiritual value of generosity and invite you to participate. If you're viewing this service remotely, please use the methods shown on the screen. Thank you. Our thanks for all gifts given and received for the work of this community. So please stand in body and/or spirit, in body or spirit, and sing the closing hymn, When I Am Frightened, 10:12.
When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will you share some of your stories with me? If you will show me compassion, then I may learn to care as you do. Then I may learn to care. When I am angry, will you still embrace me? When I am thoughtless, will you understand? Will you believe in me? Stand by me quietly. Will you share some of your questions with me? If you will show me acceptance, then I may learn to give as you do. Then I may learn to give. When I am troubled, will you listen to me? When I am lonely, will you be my friend? Will you be there for me? Comfort me tenderly. Will you share some of your questions with me? If you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Then I may learn to love.
As we prepare to extinguish the chalice, let us recite the valediction. We extinguish the flame of this chalice, and we know that the light of truth and love and the warmth of this community go with us until we meet again. So please extinguish your chalice at home now. This is our home, so I'm going to extinguish it. So now let's form a circle and join hands for Maria's closing words.
With our world in such an unstable state, our ability to find and maintain serenity can be challenging. During states of high anxiety, it's normal to operate from old habits and old knee-jerk reactions that only serve to separate us from ourselves, others, and our connection to higher self-values. We all have experienced the healing effects of love and compassion as reinforcing calm and peace. I hope that each of us receives consistent benefits from our self-care practices in supporting our sense of equilibrium and maintaining a connection to ourselves, others, and spirit. Perhaps EFT might warrant a place in that toolbox. Go in peace and serenity.